Meteorologist Brian Bennett with a quick update on the tropics for your Tuesday, September 19th. Still watching Hurricane Maria moving over the Caribbean. Folks in Florida can start to rest a little bit easier as it looks like the storm is going to move east of Florida. The Carolinas, it's looking a lot better for you too. It looks like the storm wants to recurve to the north and stay out of the southeastern states, though it's still a good idea to keep an eye on this storm in case any changes do occur. In the short term, though, all eyes are on Maria and Puerto Rico. It's going to move in overnight and tomorrow and be a very, very powerful and devastating storm. Hurricane Maria right now has winds of 165 miles per hour, a very strong Category 5 hurricane, moving to the west-northwest at 10 miles per hour, and again it's heading right towards the British Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico. Here's a look at the spaghetti model plots. Everybody agrees it's heading for Puerto Rico, then takes a turn to the north, possibly staying just northeast of the Bahamas and avoiding the state of Florida, moving off to the north. Carolina, still keep an eye on this storm in case it happens to make a curve to the northwest, but right now the southeast is looking pretty good as far as most of the models are going. I don't really trust this storm very much long term. It could very well recurve out to sea, but there is a possibility too that it could actually make a turn to the northwest, kind of like Sandy did a couple of years ago. So something to keep an eye on until this storm is out of the Atlantic Ocean. Here's a look at the current alerts in the purple color. We have hurricane warnings. Obviously, we have hurricane warnings for the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico as well. And preparations in Puerto Rico should definitely be coming to an end as the storm will be moving in tonight and through the day tomorrow. Here's a look at the GFS model. And if you look at this little eye right here, this is where the center of circulation is expected to go. Here's the island of Puerto Rico. So as we go into the future, let's check out and see where the GFS has a storm making landfall. So the GFS has a storm making landfall on the east coast of Puerto Rico and then tracking pretty much right across the middle of the country and then exiting in the northwest corner of Puerto Rico. All right, that's the GFS model, and this is a wind forecast. Winds with this storm would be blowing upwards of around 150 miles per hour. Again, it is a very major hurricane. Here's a look at the European model. Let's see where the center of circulation takes the storm. Again, the center of circulation is where the strongest winds are. A pivot or a wobble, even just 10 to 15 miles, can make the biggest difference in the type of damage and the type of winds that can be expected. So we can pray the storm stays mainly offshore, but right now it looks like at least part of the island of Puerto Rico is going to take a direct landfall. Here's a look at the European computer model. Same exact location, taking the storm right into the east coast of Puerto Rico, tracking right across, it looks like San Juan, and then exiting in the north central part of Puerto Rico. Timing wise, the worst part of the storm for the eastern part of the country is going to be in the very early morning of Wednesday, very early morning. So Tuesday night and Wednesday morning, very rough conditions. And then the storm moves out and conditions improve by late Wednesday evening. So Tuesday night and Wednesday going to be very rough weather for the island of Puerto Rico, no matter where this storm ends up heading exactly. It is going to have a very large impact on the island. So lots of winds, possibly up to about 150 miles per hour. A lot of rain as well. As you can see here, we're in the purple color, purple representing rain anywhere from about 12 inches to about 18 inches of rain in Puerto Rico, and possibly up to about 22 inches in a few isolated locations. So flash flooding for the island is a very high probability. In addition, we're going to see a storm surge of about 6 to 9 feet for Puerto Rico. On top of that 6 to 9 foot storm surge, we're going to have 10-foot waves. So large storm surge, large waves, flash flooding, wind obviously blowing about 150. The higher elevations of Puerto Rico will have the stronger winds as it's unimpeded by any land. The higher you go in elevation, the stronger the winds are going to be. So a very dangerous storm. Here's a look at the brand new proprietary model called the IBM Deep Thunder model. And it's going to take the storm pretty much right over Puerto Rico as well. There it is making landfall in the exact same location in eastern Puerto Rico. tracking across the state and then exiting in northwest Puerto Rico. That's pretty much three very reliable models that have taken the storm in the same exact location right across the island. Here's a look at the H-WRF model. The H-WRF is a little bit better resolution than the other models I just showed you, so it can pick up on some of the minute details in the atmosphere or perhaps some of the weaknesses in the steering current. So let's see where the H-WRF takes the storm. Here we are. This is early Wednesday morning, and it actually has the storm entering right around Fajardo and then exiting perhaps right around San Juan area. So the H-WRF not taking the storm quite as much across the island, and that little difference of the H-WRF versus the other models could have a big difference in the amount of damage that is received for the entire island. So damage either way is going to be pretty intense for folks in northeastern Puerto Rico, but if this storm can go farther north, then it will limit the damage that's received in the west and southwest portions of Puerto Rico. All right, so that's the H-WRF model. Here's a look at a little bit of video from Hurricane Hugo, and there's a reason I'm showing you Hurricane Hugo. In fact, let's take a look at this next map real quick before we take a look at that video. And this is Hurricane Hugo back in September 17th, 1989, and the path is going to be very similar with Maria. It moved right over Vieques and then moved into Fajardo and then exited a little east of San Juan. Now with Maria, I think it's going to do the same thing, probably enter somewhere maybe just south of the Fajardo area and then possibly exit right around San Juan if you take into account the H-WRF model and kind of blend it with some of the global models as well. I think that'll be the likely path. All right, so here's some video from Hurricane Hugo back in 1989.
There goes the wind now.
All right, as you can see with this storm, winds were blowing very, very strong with Hurricane Hugo. It caused $1 billion worth of damage in Puerto Rico. There were 12 casualties, and it absolutely decimated the banana and coffee crops on the island due to Hugo. So this kind of gives you an idea of what Maria is going to do, at least to the northeastern corner of Puerto Rico, over the next 24 hours or so. So a very strong storm moving in. Again, any type of preparations that are going to be made should be made now, and everybody shouldn't be hunkering down on Puerto Rico. All right, one last thought about the island, and then we'll move on to the path of where it's going to go beyond Puerto Rico. But again, based on taking into account the high resolution WRF model and the global models, I'm going to say if I had to take an educated guess on exactly where it will make landfall, again, I think it's going to move right over Vieques, which is very scary for the folks there, I know, and then probably move just south of the Fajardo area, and then probably exit right around San Juan area. Keep in mind, all the global models are taking the storm just like this. Every global model is taking it right over from the southeast part of the island to the northwest part of the island. I'm taking into account some of the small effects that the H-WRF model is picking up on, and also some of the trending from the last couple of days. And I'm going to say the eye is probably going to move in somewhere again just south of Fajardo and then exit right around the very populated area of San Juan. So possibly a little bit farther south than what we saw with Hugo. Again, let's flip back to Hugo real quick. Here's Hugo right here. Hugo barely scraped the northeastern corner of Puerto Rico, where I think with Maria, we could actually have the storm just a tiny bit farther south, so maybe having even more of an impact on the island. All right, so where's the storm going beyond Puerto Rico, and what threat does it pose to the United States? Let me move this over for you here. This is the GFS model, and there goes Jose, and you can see Maria entering your screen right here. Here's Maria. And the GFS model, the American model, takes Maria east of Florida, Thank goodness the Floridians are tired from what we had to deal with from Irma. So fortunately, the storm going east of Florida, and right now it looks like it wants to go east of the Carolinas as well. But I wouldn't quite let your guard down in the Carolinas yet, as again, this storm could possibly do something unexpected and make a turn to the northwest. So keep an eye on it in the Carolinas, but it is looking better for you. And then it actually joins up with Jose, and the Coriolis force takes over and drags the storm quickly off to the northeast. We can write the storm off at that point, and all of us can rest easier as we have one more storm down and we're closer to the end of hurricane season, which I know we're all ready to see. All right, here's a look at the European computer model. All right, here's Maria. Actually, you know what? Let me rewind it just a tad. All right, let's go back. All right, so here's Jose right here, and then here's Maria exiting parts of the northwest Puerto Rican area and getting a lot closer to the Bahamas than the GFS had. So possibly tropical storm force winds, maybe even hurricane force winds for the eastern Bahamas, large surf regardless, whether the storm goes over the Bahamas or east of it, as the storm is fairly large and very dangerous. All right, as the storm goes north, it actually gets pulled northwest a little bit by the remnants of Jose. So Jose could definitely have an impact on where the storm goes. And take a look at how close Maria comes to Long Island. This is exactly what Sandy did. Sandy moved off to the north and then hit a blocking high that was kind of chilling off over Canada, and then it moved westward right into Jersey and New York and caused quite a bit of damage in that area. So I'm not saying this is going to be a repeat of Sandy, but a Sandy-esque type forecast is possible for the northeast with this storm making a turn to the northwest somewhere over the mid-Atlantic states or even up into the New England area. Hopefully the GFS is right and the storm recurves out to sea, but we'll have to keep an eye out for the possibility that that storm could actually make a bit of a turn to the northwest following in the tracks of the remnants of Jose. Here's a look at the H-Wharf model. Again, we already saw what the predicted path is for Puerto Rico, but let's look at some of the longer term forecast here. And you can see there it goes right over the northern part of Puerto Rico and then continues off to the northwest, makes a turn to the north right around the eastern Bahamas, and then continues to trek off to the north, avoids Florida, and then this is as far as the model goes out at this point, but it gets very close to the Carolinas, but right now it still wants to keep it offshore. But again, Carolinas, we'll have to keep an eye on this, and again, as you head up into the New England area, we'll want to keep a close eye on it as well for that possible turn to the northwest. It can't quite be ruled out yet. Here's the IBM Deep Thunder model, and let's go ahead and look at the long-term forecast. It's leaving the island of Puerto Rico. Again, starts to head towards Bahamas, but then makes a turn to the north and actually is heading towards the weakness that Jose provides and away from the high pressure area, and storm goes off to the north. Heading into the long term, here we are into, we're in next Monday by now, and the storm is in exiting the Atlantic waters and starting to turn off to the northeast. So, all right, bottom line is Puerto Rico, very hard hit tonight and tomorrow morning. Florida looks like you can rest easy with the storm going east. Carolina is looking better for you at this point. So Maria is a tricky storm. I'll be ready for Maria to be out of here, hopefully, and again, praying for the folks in Puerto Rico that it won't be too catastrophic for that location. All right, guys, hope you have a great and safe night. I'll have another update on the storm tomorrow.